Thank you, Mr. Canales, for that excellent and inspirational talk that shows that it's business as usual and the work continues to make U-space a reality. You touched on the link now to deployment as change of gear, and I think that's a very important thing to bear in mind. Research must continue, but now we're building to actually deploy. I'd like now to take a few minutes to introduce to you today what we will be doing a little bit. So, I'd like to start by introducing myself, but not just who I am, but also why I am. Now, it might seem a strange question, but I'm standing here. Some of you know me, some of you do not. But why am I here? I'm here because I'm SESAR Joint Undertaking. That's the easy answer. But in fact, my background is as an air traffic controller. So I have aviation in my blood. I joined in when I was 18 years old, which is a while ago now. But I'm here now because I want to make aviation safe. Many of you here, there are other air traffic controllers. You'll have scientists, and you have industry manufacturers, you have air navigation service providers, regulators, and many other perspectives. All of you have a part to play. My first love is air traffic control. But I'm here now to make it work for all stakeholders, and also not just air traffic control, but all of you to make this a better world, a better business, a better opportunity. And of course, we're all citizens, and it has to work for the citizen too. That's why I'm here. What I'd like to do is to take you just briefly through the history of how we got here. We started with, as you saw in the video, with the blueprint, and then a number of other documents along the way that culminated in the end of 2019 with the first round of the SESAR 2020 conclusions. And an interim conclusions document was put there. And it showed a number of things that needed to be done, including the inclusion of what's now innovative air mobility into the concept. This was an important moment. This document at this time showed that we had a very large stakeholder family that was involved in it, producing the interim documents, and then joined in creating the next round of research that we did within the SESAR program. And we had a family photograph at the end of it. As it happens, this photograph has been widely circulated. So what we'd like to do is to repeat the action, but a few years on. So bear in mind at the end of today's conversations and discussions, we will be doing another family photograph. So please don't rush away at 6 o'clock. If you want to be in the SESAR Family Remembrance album, then please join us for the photograph at 6. But after that, where does this fit into the bigger picture? Well, there we are. We have interim results, and these came from 19 original projects. There were 10 demonstration projects and 9 exploratory research projects with multiple stakeholders, as I showed in the previous slide. But this is our first exploration into what's going on. That led to the creation of a very important document, the Chorus Concept of Operations. Now, we'll hear a lot more about the concept, so I won't dwell on this. But it's important to recognize that the concept was the first time we had a stake in the ground that enabled Europe to take a holistic look at what U-space might look like. Before then, there had been a number of different individual projects going on, but now you could say, wow, is that what we're aiming for? Will U-space end up looking exactly like the concept? I would say probably not. But the concept is evolving, as you'll hear today, and it helps us to keep into perspective what the whole picture looks like. And then we created a new set of projects, and we'll hear in a few moments about these projects in some detail, because they are now drawing to a close if they have not already closed, and they have conclusions that you need to hear, and you will be presented this in just a few moments. But big change. Now, as Mr. Cornelis mentioned earlier on, we have a regulatory framework. This is critical. No longer will research be just looking at some new ideas, trying to see what works and what doesn't, although there is still obviously an element of that. We're now building on a regulatory framework that allows us to deploy, that allows us to make this real. And we also, of course, have the drone strategy too, all happening at the same time. A new SESAR research, we have the regulatory framework coming into force in, next month, And we have the Drone Strategy 2 that helps us to guide all our stakeholder activities into the next decade. This is a big change on the previous milestone we had at the end of the first wave of SESAR 2020. So now we move forward towards deployment. And that involves, at the moment, some new projects from the SESAR joint undertaking, and we'll hear more about those projects later on as well. And after that, we'll hear from more stakeholders. So here's what's in store for you today. We have the presentation I'm giving you now, and then we have very shortly a presentation on the exploratory research, followed by the demonstration projects and a specific discussion on the concept of operations. And then we will look at the all-important topic, especially close to my heart, as I mentioned earlier, the integration with air traffic management. But today's in two parts. We have that detailed look at what the SESAR joint undertaking is doing, but we are part of a large stakeholder group, as has been said a great deal yesterday and indeed this morning. So we need to look a little bit wider at what it is we're trying to do. So we'll have a look at the digital sky demonstrations that are coming forward. Then we'll have a look at some strategy and regulatory issues regarding U-space, which is vital. Without the regulatory background, we can't deploy. Without the standards, we can't enforce the regulations, and we can't make manufacturers have a joined-up way of making things work together. And then we'll start hearing from some actual examples of U-space implementation around Europe. And then finally, we'll have a little attempt to look ahead. What's coming? Where are we going? Before finishing off with our closing keynote from Jan-Christoph Oetjen of the European Parliament. Of course, during this time, we will have some breaks along the way, don't worry. And then, as I mentioned, we'll have the family photo at the end, so we'll all gather together and be remembered. That's all I have to say for my introduction. Thank you very much for listening. I know we have a long day ahead of us, and I look forward to sharing it with you and to discussing with you during the breaks. Do bear in mind we have a lovely set of exhibitors here today. Do take the trouble to go and see the stands and talk to them. You'll hear a lot more detail there than you will on the stage today. So thank you very much.